Hello folks, welcome back to Chris Wyatt Reports. This is Chris in central Pennsylvania. Seismic tremors in Africa's most successful democratic state as the Botswana Democratic Party is obliterated in elections. And when I say obliterated, absolutely destroyed. And this is just desserts for the tyrant Mokwetsi Masisi. With preliminary results still coming in at this hour and 6 races yet to be called out of 61, this is 2 days after polling has closed. Botswana's corrupt authoritarian has been bounced out on his ear. Botswana's President Mokwetsi Masisi has conceded defeat as preliminary results showed his governing party lost its parliamentary majority after nearly 6 decades in power. 58 years in power, the only party to ever govern Botswana is out on its ear. Eric Masisi's legacy will be one of ruin for the BDP and for the nation. He took well-run government, a mostly corruption-free society, with a sound economy and led the Botswana to misery and decline. Ian Khama's handpicked successor turned out to be the biggest failure in Khama's storied career and a disaster for Botswana. Setting out to do anything that would distinguish himself from his predecessor, initially Masisi lifted the ban on trophy hunting, and it all went downhill from there. A public spat with his former boss resulted in trumped-up political lawfare and an arrest warrant for the former president, who later fled to South Africa. COVID came along and Masisi's fascist bent was exposed, at times appearing to rival ANC-ruled South Africa next door, at crushing civil liberties and destroying the economy. Masisi and his government imposed draconian pass measures with tight zones of control, arresting anyone, except for government officials, who deigned to travel home. Keeping Botswana from going home to the bush or the cattle post is an offense few outside the region would comprehend, but it was a foolish move, one that did little to confront the genuine challenges of the COVID pandemic. On top of the essential suspension of liberties, there was the massive COVID tender fraud. Again, almost in competition with the kleptocracy south of the border to see who could rob their people of the most loot. Masisi's concession speech today, Friday, November 1st, comes before the final results are even announced, with the BDP trailing in 4th place according to tallies from the Electoral Commission. Masisi had the following to say at the Capitol in Gaborone: "We got it wrong big time in the eyes of the people." You think, Eric? You think? He continued to say, "We were really convinced of our message, but every indication by any measure is that there's no way that I can pretend that we're going to form a government." No, I don't think so, dude. 61 seats up for grabs and you got 4. Wow. Now, he was seeking a second 5-year term, and he has said he will step aside. Of course he'll step aside. Mokwetsi Masisi got what he deserves: a smackdown, a PK, a mooring, as South Africans would say. State television said that the UDC, the Umbrella for Democratic Change, a party formed a little over a decade ago, won 32 of the seats. This is based on results from 55 of the 61 constituencies were up for grabs. Now, under the country's electoral system, the first party to take 31 of the 61 seats in the legislature will be declared the winner and install its candidate as president to form a government. The BDP has governed the diamond-rich Southern African country since 1966, and many analysts said they were expected to win. I was not one of them. I was one that said they are likely to lose their majority, possibly a plurality, but certainly will not be ruling after this election, and I was correct. But I was wrong in how badly the BDP would be slammed. The opposition Botswana Congress Party has won 14 seats, and the Botswana Patriotic Front had 5 seats, with the BDP at just 4. Now, the BCP is led by Dumelang Salashando. Dumelang Salashando leads that party, and the Botswana Patriotic Front has the backing of Ian Khama, but limited support. Masisi, a 63-year-old former high school teacher and UNICEF worker who was educated in the United States, was widely expected to keep his parliamentary majority and serve a second and final term, according to incorrect analysts, and boy were they wrong. More than 1 million people were registered to vote out of a population approaching 2.5 million. The BDP did not have anything new to offer. It was very clear that the president was really relying on incumbency, said an analyst from the Institute for Security Studies in Pretoria. But the UDC put forward ambitious policy proposals, he says, by pledging more than double the minimum wage, improve social services, and create a more independent judiciary, among other measures. Former President Ian Khama, 71 years of age, supports the BPF, the party founded by supporters when he quit the BDP a few years ago, after Masisi took over. Now, Khama was quoted in the lead up to this election saying, "I have to fix the mistake I made in appointing Masisi to be my successor." It was March of last year. It was a huge mistake, one that we are regretting as a country because he's totally undermined democracy, human rights, the rule of law, and interfered with the judiciary. Now, in 2022, Botswana authorities issued an arrest warrant against Khama for charges including unlawful possession of weapons, and that was set aside by the court last month, but he had to live in exile for a long time. As I mentioned, Khama's influence is limited to a few districts, including the center where he is a tribal chief of the Mangwato people. Folks, what this election clearly demonstrates is that change is possible. America, South Africa, listen carefully. You can vote the bums out. For us in the United States, that day is rapidly approaching. November 5th, we can change course. We can tack in the correct direction. For South Africans, I urge you to use every by-election to obliterate the ANC, the EFF, and the MK parties. Vote, vote, vote them out into the streets where they belong. For Botswana, congratulations. Now it's time to get on with new governance. The UDC offers a hope that things can change. Had the BCP won or gained more seats, I would not be so optimistic. Dumalang Salashando, the party leader, is a perpetual grievance man, an MP who simply makes arguments 180 degrees opposite the sitting government. He has no ideas, only self-aggrandizement. For the Botswana Democratic Party, you deserve this outcome. Your party has grown fat, rich, lazy, corrupt, and increasingly inept. The hatred demonstrated towards Ian Khama for imposing discipline on a party that sorely needed it has finally come back to bite you in the ass. Good. Learn your lesson and earn your seats back in 5 years' time. The Botswana, the Mangwato, Kalanga, Basara, Afrikaner, Coloreds, and all the other Botswana need your return to excellence. Once again, folks, seismic events in Southern Africa, in Botswana, where the ruling Botswana Democratic Party, after 58 years of uncontested rule, has been bounced out on its ear, with 5 districts constituencies still to report their results. The opposition, UDC, Umbrella for Democratic Change, has won a sweeping victory with at least 32 seats in Parliament, and the ruling Botswana Democratic Party embarrassed with just 4 seats. The jig is up. Corruption is out. Fascism, hopefully, has ended, and democratic rule returned to Botswana. Good luck, Botswana. God bless.